viewers, welcome back to class. I'm super excited to have you guys back to class again. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not done so, and ensure that you turn on the post notification bell for more exciting videos. And I will remind you again that you should not skip any part of this video. Ensure that you avoid every unnecessary distraction. Also, if there be any part of this video you do not understand, maybe when you watch it for the very first time, please, you have the opportunity to replay the video over and over and over and over and over and over again until you understand that particular aspect that is giving you challenge. And if at the end of watching it over and over and over and over and over and over again, you still have questions to ask, or you have not been able to clear your doubts, please don't forget that there is a comment section where we entertain comments. So just quickly go down to the comment section and make your necessary comment. We will attend to every comment that you make. Okay, guys, if this is taken, let's get to work. On the board, we are still dealing with second order differential equations, and now we are looking at solutions to second order differential equations. And we are dealing with case 1, where f of x is 0. And now we have looked at real and different roots. We have equally looked at real and equal roots. Then now, in this current video, we will be looking at complex roots, which become part C. Complex roots. Now, the general solution for complex roots is given as y is equal to exponential alpha x, open bracket a cos beta x plus b sine beta x. So in this case, our interest is to know what this is and to know what beta is, which is the same thing as what we have here. Then, anytime you understand that for every second order differential equation, the first thing you must do is to deduce equation 2 from equation 1 that you are given by the examiner. Are we there? Or author. Are you there? Now, from there, when you deduce the auxiliary equation in terms of n. That means you have to find n. So when you obtain the value of n would have been in this format. You have imaginary sign here. This is why it is called complex roots. This imaginary sign here. And understand that for quadratic equation, imaginary sign comes in when you have negative value inside a square root. Are you there? That is when imaginary sign comes in. Now, and also understand that anytime you are dealing with complex roots, such equation cannot be solved with factorization method. That's why it's coming as complex. There is no problem you will ever solve under differential equation or second order differential equation that will be under complex root that you will be able to solve with factorization method. It is impossible. You can only use formula method or method of completing the square. But for this case now, if we check any equation and we find out that factorization method cannot solve it, then we will use formula method. And don't forget that the formula method for any quadratic equation is given as, now understand that this is m minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. These are the what? The equation. And this equation is deduced from what? am squared plus bm plus c is equal to 0. So you need to understand this equation. Of course, from general mathematics, here you used to have x. Why do we have x here? Because this equation contains x. Now that this equation is in terms of m, then the formula will also be in terms of m, while the coefficient remains the same. Alright? So this is the formula we are going to be using to solve this. Of course, we will first check or test run whether we can factorize. But I tell you the truth, for any second order differential equation that falls under the complex root, such equations cannot be factorized. Therefore, factorization method cannot work it out. Now, let's get to work. We have the very first question under this on the board, and it happens to be question number 7 because this is a continuation class. So if you are visiting this page for the very first time, please, you have to go back to our platform and go down toward the playlist where you will find solution to second order differential equation so that you can work previous lessons that we had before this current lesson. But let's continue from where we stopped. Now, this is question 7. So we are asked to solve d square y over dx squared, okay, plus 4dy over dx plus 9y is equal to 0. Now, the first thing you want out for, like I've explained over time, is to see whether the right-hand side of the second order equation you are given, second order differential equation that you are given, is equated to 0. If the right-hand side is equated to 0 already, then you will call it equation 1. Now that we have gotten equation 1, we know that from equation 1, we need 2 more equations to be able to solve this question completely. So equation 1 is given to us, but we will deduce equation 2 and 3. And it is easy to deduce equation 2. How do we obtain equation 2 from here? All we simply do is to convert this order of differential equation to its auxiliary equation. Therefore, we have the auxiliary equation. Now, this term is taken as m squared, while dy over dx is taken as m, and y is taken as 1. So 9 multiplied by 1 is 9. Then this is equated to 0. This becomes equation 2. It's as simple as this. What we have now is the auxiliary equation. The next thing we are quickly going to do, which type of equation is this auxiliary equation? Guys, this is quadratic equation. And for us to be able to solve this answer, we need to have two results, 2 roots. And how do we solve this quadratic equation? We can use any method of solving quadratic equation. But before we start using formula method, I will first of all test run and show you how to know a function or an equation that is not factorizable. Are you there? As usual, when we're using factorization method in previous lessons, all we do is to have this multiplied by this. Is that correct? And when we multiply this guy by this last guy, this will have given us positive 9m squared, just as we have it here. Then the next thing we will quickly look out for are 2 factors such that their product will give us this, and the sum of the factors will have given us the middle term. Now let's check this out. This is plus 9m squared. Okay? So we create a column for the 2 factors. Of course, for the product of 2 numbers is always the number multiplied by 1 and minus 9 multiplied by minus 1, because I have explained countless times that for the product of 2 factors to be positive, it is either the 2 factors are positive or the 2 factors are negative. When you know principles, you become principal, and equally, when you know the boundary conditions, you will not overstep your boundaries. Let this sink into your mental capacity. Okay, now at this point, the next factors of 9 is 3 multiplied by 3 or minus 3 multiplied by minus 3. Guys, at this point, I think these are the possible factors of positive 9 that we just have on the board. The next thing we are quickly going to do is to sum up these factors and see the one that will give us what the coefficient of the middle term, which happens to be what? Plus 4. So we put that plus 4 here, and let's see any of these factors that will give us plus 4. Of course, this will have given us plus 10, and this will have given us minus 10. This will give us plus 6, and this will give us minus 6. So you see now that there is none of the sum of the factors here that gives us 4. So in as much as none of these factors gives us the middle factor, or the coefficient of the middle term, that means this equation is not factorizable. Hope this is clear. Yes. You see, if we are looking at another aspect to test run, how to know equations that are actually factorizable, you can use this method. B squared minus 4ac. Alright? So when you impute these values here, if the outcome is not a perfect square, it shows that it is not factorizable. So this is how you check. This is the equation to also check. Alright? This is an equation to check whether a particular expression or quadratic expression is factorizable. Okay, so factor. You see now, this is it. So for me to check whether this expression is factorizable, all I need to do is to impute these values here. When I impute this value here, if the outcome turns out to be a perfect square, it means the equation is factorizable. But if it turns out to be the other side, it means it's not factorizable. Of course, let me help you. Let's also check it this way, okay? So what I need to do is when I come here and compare this to this equation, just as we have, you discover that A is 1, the coefficient of A here is 1, while that of B is 4, and C is 9. So we come here and have that B is 4. We have 4 squared minus 4 multiplied by A is 1 and C is 9. So on our end, when we have this will give us what? 16. 4 squared is 16. And when we multiply this will give us 36. And when we find the square root of these guys, this will have given us minus 20. So you discover that this is what? A complex root. So with what we have here now, we already know that this is not factorizable. Why? Because what we have inside the square root at first is negative. It's not supposed to be negative. Secondly, even though this is not negative, this factor we just have here now is not factorizable. So it cannot work it out. Then also, assuming we look at the first case we have today, where we have m plus 5m plus this equal to 0. Now let's check out this. This would have given us b is 5, which would have given us 25. If you square 5, you have 25. Then minus 6 multiplied by 4 would have given us 24. Multiplied by a, which is 1, would have given us 24. So, and when we remove 24, we have 1. And the square root of 1 is this. This particular equation is factorizable. It's as simple as this. This is how to know with formula equations that are factorizable. Are you there? So this one is factorizable, but this one is not factorizable. So anytime you have a negative root, like we just have here, it shows that that factor is not factorizable. So you have the choice to either check with multiplication factors or you check with formula. Hope you have gotten another value. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not done so, and ensure that you turn on the post notification bell so that even while you are asleep and we release mind-blowing content, you will be notified. This is the advantage of it. And understand that there is no way you can turn on the post notification button without first subscribing to the channel. So subscribe and turn on the post notification bell, then like the video, share the video, make your comment. 5 things, 5 in 1. Like, share, subscribe, comment, turn on the post notification bell. Now let's get to work. So we have already ascertained that this equation cannot be factorizable. Do we accept that? Hope we accept that, or we have verified that. Now, what do we do? Now that this equation is not factorizable, then we can now use formula method. Like I said, you can use other methods. Outside factorization method, every other method can solve it out, completely display method or graphical. But here, any problem we have that factorization method cannot solve, we will quickly make use of formula method. Okay? Now you can equally make use of this formula method in other problems we have solved that we factorizable. You can equally make use of it. That's why I said these problems you can solve it based on choice, except a particular method cannot solve a particular problem. Unlike this case, where factorization cannot solve this question. Alright? Now, all we just need to do is to use the quadratic formula. Alright? And this quadratic formula, most people call it the almighty formula. Well, it's only God that is almighty. Now, we recall that m is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Guys, don't assume that your examiner knows the formula. Okay? Before you will use this formula, you must ensure that you state it before you impute the values. Don't just go ahead and start imputing the values without first stating the formulas. Alright? Very, very important. Don't ever assume that your examiner or the author knows the formula. Therefore, there is no need for me to state it. All I just need to do is to substitute. No. First thing you must do to use any formula at all, whether in this course or any other course at all, any problem that requires the use of formula, you must first of all state the formula, then also state the parameters, the value of the parameters given. Are you there? So now that we have stated the formula, what is A, what is B, what is it? You must do it this way. No matter how much you want to fly, even though you want to fly with the speed of light, you must ensure that you state the formula, state the parameters before you substitute. Once you substitute, you can get your answer. Okay? Accepted. So that you will not miss valuable marks. I've told you countless times that in mathematics or calculation courses, most times they don't mark your answer. In fact, they don't mark your answer. It is your steps that they mark. And these are the steps. So if you ignore the step, now what else do you do? Here, you only take one step. So what step will they mark? So that's why there are steps you do not skip. You don't skip this step. Okay? Now, where A. When we compare this and this, the coefficient of A, look at it. The coefficient of M square here is 1. So A is 1. Then when we compare this and this, you can decide to equate them. Bm is equal to 4m. So m cancel m. The same way you can decide to equate this 4m square, am square is equal to m square. So m cancel m, a is equal to 1. You can decide to do it this way by comparison. Are you there? But let's just be fast. Then at this point, c is equal to the constant. That's all. Then you can now substitute. Now m is equal to minus 4 plus or minus b is 4 squared again, minus 4, a is 1, and c is 9. All over 2 multiplied by a. This is it. Now, at this point, all we need to do is to simplify this. When you get to this level, you can get your final answer. Yes, you can just compute everything here, get your final answer, if possible. Okay? But don't skip this step. Don't skip this step. Very, very important. Okay, so now we have m is equal to minus 4 plus or minus. Now the square root, now when you square 4, we have 16. And when you multiply 4 by 1, you have 4. Multiply 4 by 9, you have 36. So this gives us negative 36. All over 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. So at this point, this will have given us minus 4 plus or minus the square root of what? Minus 20. All over 2. Now, what next do we do here? All we simply need to do is to see how we can remove this negative sign. And you understand that in complex number, we have root of minus 1 to be equal to what? I or j, which is the what? The sign of the imaginary complex function. Are we there? So, all I need to do here now is to see how I can use the law of solve. And if you are having issue with solve, please, you can go to our textbook. So, these are giving us 20 multiplied by what? Minus 1. Okay? You agree with me that in solve, when you have root a multiplied by root b, is written as root a multiplied by root b. If you understand this law in solve, that's exactly what we are going to do there. So 20 multiplied by minus 1 is minus 20. I need this so that I can reduce it. Now, I want to reduce this step. Okay? I want to reduce my step here. All I need to do this is minus 4 plus or minus. What is the square root of 20? You can do that. Your calculator can give you that. Square root of 20. Solve can help you do this, which is something as 4 multiplied by 5. Square root of 4 is 2 root 5. Okay? So this would have given us I 2 root 5. Or let's use j. All over 2. All you just need to do is that the square root of minus 1 is your equivalent to j. I don't want to show everything, okay? So you can pick it somewhere, alright? Or better still, let's add it up to this point, okay? So that you have this known. Note that the square root of minus 1 is equal to j. So anywhere we have this, we can replace it. Hope this is clear now. So at this point, all I need to do is to share the denominator for this number of fraction that I have. So I have minus 4 over 2 plus or minus j2 root 5 over 2. So 2 cancel 2. This will have given us minus 2 plus or minus j root 5. This is the answer that we have. So you see now we have a complex function. Now from this complex function we just have, we will discover that m was given to be what? Alpha plus or minus j beta, which is the complex or the imaginary sign. So here now, what is alpha? Where alpha is the first value minus 2, and beta is what? Root 5. If this is understood, now that we have gotten the value of alpha and beta, then we can use equation 3. And this is our equation 3. Okay? We can use equation 3. And what is equation 3? Y is equal to, even with this, you must also first of all state the formula before you substitute. Okay? And this will have given us alpha x, open bracket, a cos beta x plus b sine beta x. This is it. So now what is alpha? Alpha is minus 2x, open bracket, a cos root 5x plus b sine root 5x. This is the answer to this second order differential equation. Very quickly, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not done so, and ensure that you turn on the post notification bell for more exciting videos. Don't forget to make your necessary comment to us how this YouTube channel, this platform, has added value to your life. Don't forget to share, don't forget to like. Let's look at question number 2 under this case, which happens to be question number 8. Okay, now guys, we have question number 8 on the board, and we are asked to solve d squared y over dx squared minus 2dy over dx plus 10y is equal to 0. And this is equation 1, having discovered that the right hand side of the equation is 0. As simple as that. Then step 2 is to deduce equation 2 from equation 1, which will be 10 as what? The auxiliary equation. And now the auxiliary equation is the auxiliary equation. It's distance to m squared minus distance dy over dx is m and y is 1. So 1 multiplied by 10 is 10. This is what is 0, and this will have given us equation 2. Now from equation 2 now, we will quickly deduce equation 3, which will be our final answer. And this is how we will get equation 3. So for us to be able to get equation 3 now, I need to obtain m, where I will find alpha and beta. So very quickly, let's look at that. So now from here, we know that this is quadratic equation. Okay? I have taught you how to test run whether a particular expression is factorizable. Okay, let's quickly use the formula. This is the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Let's see whether we are going to have a negative value inside the square root. So b is minus 2 all squared minus 4 multiplied by a is 1 and the other is 10. So when we multiply out, this will have given us 4. Minus 2 times minus 2 is 4. And 4 multiplied by what? 1 multiplied by 10 is 40. And when we find the square root here, we have minus 36. So with this negative square root we have, shows that this particular equation is not factorizable. So if you want to always test run, you can use this equation to test run somewhere, or this formula. Okay? So now we are quickly going to use the formula method. Okay, use the formula method of quadratic equation, which says that what m is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All over 2a. Now where a is the coefficient of m squared 1, b is the coefficient of m minus 2, and c is what? Equal to 10. It's as simple as that. So don't forget that this is minus 2. So b is minus 2. Unlike the first problem we saw. Now all we need to do now, we can now substitute into this model. Then we have m is equal to minus, now understand, okay, let's put it together, minus 2 plus or minus square root of minus 2 squared minus 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 10 all over 2 multiplied by 1. Now at this point, all we need to do is to have that m is equal to now minus multiplied by minus 2 would have given us positive 2. We have 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 40 all over 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. Don't forget, 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 10 is minus 40. Just we have it. Now this would have given us m is equivalent to 2 plus or minus the square root of all over 2. Now, when we remove 40 from 4, automatically this will have become negative 36. So, for us to simplify this further, please, without wasting much of your time, all you just need to do, remove the negative sign and change this to I. Then what is the square root of 36? Is 6. So I'm going to use shortcut here. This will have the plus or minus. Remove this negative sign, it will turn to what? Imaginary sign. Alright? So what will be the square root of 36? Square root of 36 is 6. All over. So this is the short way to what? Bypass all of those long processes that we involved ourselves in when we solve the very first question under this category. Are you there? So what you just need to do, remove the negative sign. As you remove the negative sign, introduce the imaginary sign. Then you cannot find the square root of the positive number. And the square root of 36 is 6. It's as simple as that. Then at this point, we can now split this. M is equal to 2 over 2 plus or minus J6 over 2, which is the imaginary sign. And therefore, M becomes 1 plus or minus imaginary sign of 3. This is the answer of M. These are the values for M. What do we do here? All we simply do is to recall that M is equivalent to alpha plus or minus J beta. Where alpha, when we compare this to this, alpha is 1. And when we compare this to this, beta is 3. That's all. All you need to do here is to recall the general formula to provide a solution to complex roots. And what's the formula? We have that y is equal to exponent alpha x, open bracket, a cos beta x plus b sine beta x. And finally, this will give us alpha 1x. Alright? Then open bracket, a cos. So guys, now we have question number 9 on the board. Okay, now let's provide the necessary solution to this question. So the first thing we do, we are asked to solve 2d squared y over the x squared plus 4dy over the x plus 3y is equal to 0. Now that we have ascertained that the right hand side of this equation is equated to be 0, therefore we just need to call this equation 1. Now from equation 1, we will deduce equation 2, and from equation 2, we will equally deduce equation 3. Okay, now we have this to be what? The auxiliary equation is, what will be the auxiliary equation? Don't forget that this is the coefficient of the 1 bar, this square y over the x squared. Now this square y over the x squared is taken to be what? N squared plus 4. The y over the x is taken to be n, then plus this guy y is taken to be 1. So 1 multiplied by 3 is still 3 equal to 0. This is equation 2, and which happens to be the auxiliary equation. Now that we have gotten the auxiliary equation, from the auxiliary equation where we have m, we know that to get this general solution here, we need to find m. Are we there? We need to find m to be able to obtain alpha and beta. So how do we find m here? We need to identify what type of equation is this. Of course, that we know that this equation is quadratic. Then, what are the methods of solving quadratic equation? Then I remember factorization formula, method of completing the square, and graphical method. Now, like I explained before, you can always test run to know whether a particular equation you are given is factorizable. Let's work it out again. We have factorization as b squared minus 4 is. Then this will have given us what is b? b is 4 minus 4, a is 2, and c is 3. So when we multiply this will have given us 16. 4 multiplied by 2 is 8, and 8 multiplied by 3 is 24. And this will have given us the square root of what? Minus 8. So this is what we have. When we remove 24 from this, that we have negative result. It shows that this is not factorizable. As long as we have a negative value inside the square root, this particular equation is not factorizable. So therefore, factorization method cannot solve this equation. So therefore, what are we going to do? We are quickly going to make use of what? The formula. Now, what is the formula method? We recall that using quadratic formula. Okay, we record that m, which is the unknown, is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, where a is equal to what? 2, coefficient of m squared b is equal to 4, and c is equal to 3. At this point, guys, all we simply need to do is to substitute. So we have m is equal to minus b is 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4a is 2 and c is 3 all over 2 multiplied by a is 2. Then I have m is equal to minus 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 is 16 and the square root of the square of 4 is 16. 4 multiplied by 2 is minus 8 and minus 8 multiplied by 3 is negative 24 all over 4. 2 multiplied by 2 and the denominator is 4. Then we move on to this next page of the board. At this point we have m is equal to minus 4 plus or minus. When we remove 24 from 16, we have negative 8. So we have negative 8 inside the square root all over 4. Like I said earlier, the easiest way to have this done is to change this minus 1 inside the square root as what? The imaginary sign. Like I explained earlier, that you can take root of negative 1 to be what? The imaginary sign. So I don't need to show it again, but you can show it like we did in the first problem we solved under this category, which happens to be question number 7. You can go back and follow that format. But for the purpose of exam, you can skip some steps. Alright? So that step is not necessary at all. But if you can show it. Okay? So at this point, all I need to do is to have minus 4 plus or minus. I have already removed the negative sign by introducing the imaginary sign. So all I think I have there now is now root 8 without the negative sign. What is root 8? Root 8 is 2 root 2. You can work it out with your calculator, or better still, work it out with solve. 4 multiplied by 2. I need a perfect square. And the square root of 4 is 2, while I have the root of 2 left. So this would have given us 2 root 2. All over 4. Now that I have 2 terms at the numerator and I have only 1 term at the denominator, I need to share the denominator. So this will have given us m is equal to minus 4 over 4 plus or minus 2 root 2 over 4. At this point, the final answer becomes m minus 4 divided by 4 is minus 1 plus or minus 2 into this guy will have given us root 2 over 2. This is the answer. Therefore, recall that m is equal to alpha plus or minus imaginary sign multiplied by what? Beta. Now, by comparison, we therefore have that alpha is equal to compare the first term to the first term, we have minus 1. And compare the last term to the last term, we have beta to be what? Root 2 over 2. Now that we have complex roots, what do? We quickly recall equation for complex roots, which is the general solution to the second order differential equation. And that equation is given as y is equivalent to exponential beta x, open bracket a cos beta x plus a sine b sine beta x. Now the value of alpha is minus 1, so I have exponential minus 1x, open bracket, is cos beta is root 2 over 2x plus b sine beta is root 2 over 2x. This is the answer to this particular question number 9. So guys, we have only one category left under case 1 when f of s is equal to 0. That category, we are quickly going to look at it very shortly. So for that category, you can check the description below where you will find the link to that lesson. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not done so. Ensure that you turn on the post notification bell so that anytime we release my great content, you will be notified. Then also, don't forget to like this video, share this video, and make your necessary comments to the values you have gotten via this video you just watched. So guys, see you in